Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Paul, and you might have seen over the weekend there's a big controversy involving James Bond. So, Friday night, I actually went out to see the GoldenEye 30th anniversary re release, had a great time watching it, and returned home to listen to a podcast featuring me. So, I did one with Spyhards, basically talking about the movie. I went onto Twitter to click their page and get the link to it, and then all of a sudden, I was met with one of their posts, which was currently going viral. Now, Amazon have re-released the Bond movies on Prime, but they've done something very strange to the characters' posters. Throughout all of them, James Bond has had his gun digitally removed. Now, throughout this video, I kind of want to discuss why I think studios do this, what eventually happens, and how in the end, it can actually lead to something good. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, then you'll know I coined a phrase a couple of months ago, which I called the Snow White problem. Now, what I mean by that is that basically a studio takes the property Snow White from like 1925 or whatever. However, because they feel certain aspects of the character are outdated, then they end up having to correct it. So what you end up with is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that you can't use 7 actor dwarfs for because it might cause controversy. So instead you get 7 CGI dwarves, but it just causes more of an issue, so everyone goes mental. And I think that's very much the kind of thing that drove the creative process behind removing James Bond's gun. Even though Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has 7 dwarfs and James Bond's logo is a gun. But now what I think happens is that we live in an age where studios can get instant feedback on decisions, and if the wrong crowd picks it up, it can go viral very quickly. At the moment, we live in a society where there seems to be lots of people that are very easily offended by something and they'll instantly let you know. I think on the whole, most people just understand that James Bond has always had a gun, but there was probably the worry at the studio that this could promote gun violence, and yeah, just remove it from the poster and there's going to be no issues at all. However, in trying to overcorrect, you end up going the other way and pissing off people on the other side of the argument. Now, the internet is such a weird place because I've seen some times where someone's posted something controversial and then it's had like loads of replies, and then the studio's reacted to being like, oh God, what are we doing? However, when I've actually scrolled through those posts and, thought about it, I've been like, well, there's 200 people here, so I don't know how much of a difference that it makes. The studio then corrected to appease this small group, but then people who weren't actually offended are now getting offended because it's like, you've changed the thing that makes the thing, which just causes a lot more issues. I see this happening with a lot of older characters who aren't necessarily up to date with our modern 2025 standards. Again, Snow White was a big one, but I think what happens is when you have characters that are around for so long that fans come to know the identity of the character. For example, James Bond on screen is over 60 years old now, so we have a fair idea of what the identity of the character is. We're also starting to see with Harry Potter where changes like making Snape black, that's causing lots of controversy online because people are like, well, that's not how it is in the books. So what you lead to is people worrying that the characters are being changed too much and that the people in charge don't necessarily have a true understanding of the franchise. Now, when it comes to James Bond, the characteristics are very simple. He has a gun, a license to kill, works for MI6, shags birds, drinks martinis, drives fast cars, does big stunts, is a bit reckless, likes to gamble, and yeah, there's some other stuff I'm blanking on, but if you get those right, that's pretty much spot on. So yeah, removing a gun, it just makes it seem like you don't understand what the character is at their core, and it causes fans to worry. Now, censorship in James Bond is actually something that has happened a number of different times. Now, currently, I'm working on a Live and Let Die breakdown, and in order to do it, I read through the books and kind of talk about how things have changed in the film. Live and Let Die is actually one of those books that, when I first read it, I was shocked at how many N-words there were in the text. This was obviously written back in the 50s. Ian Fleming was obviously like an English gentleman, and he used the N-word in that quite a lot. Now, some people are going to be massively offended by that, and some people are going to be like, well, that's how it was written back then. As much as we don't approve of it now, that's how it was done, so we are going to stick to it. Now, the Ian Fleming estate, who currently owns the work, they've actually went through the text, and in recent publications, they've basically changed everything and removed all the slurs and stuff. This caused its own controversy, but yeah, I can't understand why they did it. I remember reading that book for the first time and being kind of like, yeah. You take out all the N words, and the book's probably about 50 pages long. Now, I read that in the past. I've just done another reading for the breakdown, and I've actually gone back and forth between the book and the audiobook. And I noticed on the audiobook, it was all completely cut out. Personally, I don't think it changed the story at all. I didn't even, like, it took me a couple of hours to realize. I was like, oh shit, I used to think this had loads of N-words in it, and then I'm listening and it doesn't, and then I'll realize, oh, they've updated it and taken all that out. So that to me, yeah, completely made sense. And it just goes to show why the studios have this thinking that if they can tweak little things, then it might not cause issues. However, this can go down to minute details such as the gun, and in trying to overcorrect, they end up correcting too far and annoying a totally different group of people to the original people that they weren't trying to offend. Obviously, you know, gun violence is a massive, massive talking point, and they might not have wanted to basically glorify a guy who just goes around shooting people willy-nilly because he's got a license to kill and is accountable to no one. So I can totally understand why they did it, but I don't agree with it. However, I think because we live in an age now where you just get instant reaction, people are easily offended, and they'll let you know as well that studios just want to try and avoid all controversy at all costs and not derail the thing that they've just purchased for billions of dollars. In the end though, in doing this, they end up kind of detaching the character from what they originally were, and true fans of it who I think will understand why James Bond needs a gun, true fans will be like, well, that's not the identity of the character. This will then make it seem like the studio is incompetent, and because Amazon's just bought it off the Broccoli's, we're starting to worry. However, I was someone who, though I was initially not just perturbed by that announcement, once they announced Denis Villeneuve, I was like, thank God it's in good hands. I think it's going to be a good film. Now, though I've been talking about the negatives of this, there's also some positives, and since basically people kicked off online within like 24 hours, Amazon changed all the images to other stuff. Get rid of that AI gun and just have stills from the movie. Now, at the start of the video, I talked about how some good can come from this, and I think making this kind of blunder early on does kind of let Amazon know, no, we know what James Bond is. Why are we even messing around with it? We just keep it how it is. Because of that, I think overall, if you make these kinds of mistakes, then early on at least, you have time to course correct. Snow White, when they did it, they basically apparently shot a movie with like 7 magical creatures and then got the backlash, delayed the movie by a year, and then had to redo it with CGI dwarves, apparently, and obviously that was quite far along into production. However, at James Bond, they still haven't started shooting yet, and I think this is just letting them know, look mate, the character's been the exact same for 60 years and he's been successful for a reason. Even going back and watching GoldenEye, you know, we get that scene with M where she's like, you're a sexist, misogynistic dinosaur, and Moneypenny's talking about sexual harassment. I think in the current culture war climate now, if he did that scene, there'd be people like, whoa, it's woke, M's a lady now, they've made her fucking woke. However, I do think that the way they carry that scene with Bond basically smirking throughout the entire thing, giving a wink and being like, yeah, but I am that, but I'm the damn best, that makes us endeared to the character and kind of lays down a blueprint for how they can tackle modern social issues while also retaining the core of the character. Bond needs to remain a smarmy dickhead with a gun, a license to kill, who drinks martinis, shags birds, and drives sports cars, and if they need to change characters, then it should be those around him who are like, Bond, you're outdated, you're a relic of the Cold War, which is a theme that they often do in the movies anyway. So I'm hoping that Bond stays true to who he is, they put all the guns back in, I hope that they go back and like give everyone a gun. I want to see M in her office with a CGI gun just shooting everyone randomly. But yeah, it does sort of make me worried, but also alleviate my fears in the fact that I know that once people kick off, they'll go back and fix it at least. So yeah, just kind of thought I'd talk about this. I think if they're making edits to stuff, they need to go back to like Man with the Golden Gun and remove the slide whistle from the car flip. If you need to change anything, please just change that. I don't even know if I can call it Man with the Golden Gun anymore. Is it just Man with the Golden these days? I realized as well I've got like a massive display here with the golden gun and the PPK up there, and I'm covering it up myself. I've censored the videos to remove all the guns. But yeah, when we exist in a political climate like this, where we've seen multiple outrage campaigns launched before anything's even been shot, I can understand why studios are like trying to preemptively avoid controversy and just neuter down everything. However, in avoiding said controversy, they end up creating a worse one, and we're stuck in the position where we've got loads of images of James Bond without a gun, even though the fucking logo is a gun. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it, what I think was going on behind it, and yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Are we in a crazy climate? Are things going back to where it's now like, no, give James Bond a gun. We want to see him fucking kill mass murderer. Let him out. Let him out on everyone. Yeah, so yeah, let me know your thoughts below. I do have a Diamonds Are Forever video coming out at some point today or yesterday or whenever this video is dropping. But if you want some more positive James Bond stuff where we talk about the classics, then that is on screen somewhere right now. Anyway, with that out of the way, I've been your host, Paul. You've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.